Hello friends, in today's video we're talking about breadcrumbing, what it is and why do dismissive avoidants do it and what you can do about it. So what is breadcrumbing? Breadcrumbing is when a dismissive avoidant gives you just enough attention for you to stay hanging on. So say for example, you message the dismissive avoidant for a week, they don't reply, and then all of a sudden at the end of the week they will come back with a very sweet message about how work was just being so hectic and they couldn't make time for anything and they really want to see you. Or when you are in a relationship, they are avoidant, they do not listen to your needs, they don't want to resolve conflict, and when you say that you're leaving, they will promise to change and make things better. And when they try to make things better, it usually lasts for about a week or two at the most, and then everything just reverts back to its original condition because the deeper work has not been done. So why do they do it? So they're giving you the surface level of connection to keep you interested because they are not quite sure how they feel about you or how they feel about being in a relationship. So it's not necessarily about you, but it is about how they feel in a relationship. Are they ready for a relationship? Are you the perfect person for that relationship? And when I'm talking about the perfect person, they have this idea in their head that when they meet the perfect person, they will never have any conflict. They will never have any doubts about them. It's going to be this perfect relationship like you see in the fairy tales. But in fairy tales even, we only get to that part of and then they lived happily ever after. Usually, before the happily ever after, there was a lot of drama, a lot of trying to win over the princess, a lot of slaying dragons, which is a metaphor for meeting our own demons. And then there is the happy forever after, but what does that mean? You know, it's like who's taking out the rubbish? There is no perfect relationship, and dismissive avoidants do not understand that. So they often have one foot in and one foot out, and this is really not fair to anybody. Do they know that they are doing this consciously? Maybe. Mostly, if they have been dismissive avoidant, this is just how they live their lives. They don't know any better. They're living their lives through their fear and allowing their fear to guide them, not allowing their love to guide them. Does this mean that they are completely loveless, soulless humans? No, not at all. They've just been really, really hurt in relationships. So now they really want to have a person that is going to take care of them and be so perfect that they never have to face the pain that they've experienced before. Is this realistic? Is this the right thing? Of course not. I wouldn't be a relationship coach. I wouldn't be trying to help people to be more secure if I thought that all of these patterns that we acquire in childhood are ideal. You know, a lot of people ask me, can we have a good relationship between anxious preoccupied and a fearful avoidant, or anxious preoccupied dismissive, whatever the combination? The question is valid, and yes, you can, only if you do the work. If nobody does the work, you're going to bump into these patterns which are just making you miserable. Okay, so let's go back to breadcrumbing, which I'm not doing. I'm giving you a full loaf of bread in this video about what these relationships are like. Okay, so when they keep this emotional distance, they protect themselves. They want to protect themselves from rejection. They want to protect themselves from the fear of being overwhelmed and perhaps getting into a relationship and losing themselves in that relationship. They don't really know how to resolve conflict. They don't have good boundaries. Even if it looks like they have great boundaries, they don't. They have these like hardcore boundaries where you either together or you're not together and there is no gray area. So finding those gray areas is very important to them. But they are just scared of this overwhelm of the relationship. They know a lot of their stuff is going to come out and they might not be ready for that. Okay, so you're getting this intermittent attention, which is super confusing. It's like a drug. You think that this person is into you, because when you are together, they really like you. They can sometimes even introduce you to their parents and their friends and be very nice and friendly, or you have some situationships, you have some passionate moments, but there is no next level commitment. Or maybe you are even in a relationship, but there is no talk about the future and the next step. And this can carry on for years. I know people who have been in situationships like that for like a decade, because one person was avoidant, maybe the other person was more dismissive avoidant, or the other person was more anxious and just settled for not having their needs met. Okay, so it's important that you understand that breadcrumbing is not going to evolve into something, because a lot of people that get involved in these situations think, oh, they are just unsure about me now, they're somehow magically going to change their mind in the future, and we will have this magnificent relationship. Look, everything is possible on this earth. I'm not going to say this doesn't happen at all. There are exceptions, and maybe if you're that exception, put it down below. But most of the time, it doesn't happen. It doesn't change over to the next thing unless you do these steps. And this is exactly what I found, why I was able to be in a relationship with somebody who was dismissive avoidant. Like Matt was a dismissive avoidant. So he is working towards secure. Sometimes I say we're secure, sometimes we're working towards, it's a continuous work in progress. So when we got together, I was through a divorce. I was through dating some fun relationships, that didn't treat me well. I was through being betrayed. I was just through. And I started to set boundaries. I started valuing myself and my time. And I felt immediately that he had this barrier. And he would say things like, oh, I'll see you when I see you. Because he doesn't want to seem too keen, right? Dating etiquette or whatever it is. And I said, that doesn't work for me. I need to know that we are meeting on the weekend or this many times a week. And by that time, I was over thinking that somebody is going to see me as needy, or somebody is going to see me as controlling or too much. I was just so fed up, and I was so hurt in the past that I thought, if this guy has to see me as needy, fine, let it be. Let it be that I am needy. But that's what I need. I need to know that I'm going to be seeing you regularly. I need to know your intentions, that you want to see where this is going, that you're interested. This is not just like a one-night stand. So immediately when there were things that were coming up that I didn't like this see you when I see you, I was like, no. And if he would pitch up late to my house, I would not stand for it. As I would say, you know what, my time is very precious to me. So if you tell me that you're going to be here at 5 p.m. and you're running late, that's perfectly fine. But you need to let me know that you're going to be late. You can't pitch up at my house super late. And this was also because in my two previous relationships or situationships rather, people would just be like, oh, I'll be there, and then they would not arrive or end up watching a game of soccer, and then I was on the not a priority, like I was right at the bottom of the list, and I accepted that. So this is the point that I'm trying to drive through, is that if this is happening in your life, you cannot blame the other person. Okay, if you didn't know what this is, because it is very confusing, at first you don't understand what breadcrumbing is, then you know the definition. Now that you know the definition of breadcrumbing, if you, after this video, allow this, you are the one that is keeping yourself in that situation. And I know this might sound harsh, but that is the reality. We have to set boundaries. You cannot allow somebody to give you the breadcrumbs and then stay in that situation and at the end of the day blame them. Okay? Then it becomes our responsibility to set boundaries. You don't have to be aggressive, right? Don't be like, oh, you know what, you are breadcrumbing me and this is nonsense. For some people, this is just how they are. Some people follow some weird dating etiquette that they listen to online, and there is some really, really, really bad advice online that if you listen to, you will end up in toxic relationships. Like the advice that men get on the internet, because they've been rejected so many times, they are taught to reject women, they are taught to neg women, which is basically like telling women that they are, criticize them basically, so that will create this trauma bond. So, you know, so there's a lot of information, and so we have to also be mindful that when somebody brings a certain behavior to us, it's not necessarily that they are bad and we don't have to punish them for it, but we do have to say, you know what, this is what I'm looking for. You know, from the first date, I wouldn't say like, oh, I want to marry you, but eventually we were dating not for so long. I said to Matt, like, I really want to have a long-term relationship. And if at that point that was too much for him, I was ready to walk away. And this is the whole thing. You need to value and respect yourself enough to be willing to walk away from things that are not serving you, because you are emotionally starving in the situation. And you think, oh, okay, it doesn't matter, I'm not involved with anybody else at the moment. You know what it does? When you fill this space with somebody else, you, over time, invest so much of your time, energy, maybe even money, into situationships like this, and you don't invest that in meeting new people. Okay, so you are shooting yourself in the leg twice. You're not getting your needs fulfilled here. You're not respecting yourself. You're living with anxiety. And on the other hand, you are not putting yourself out there. And at the end of something like this, you can really end up with low self-esteem. Okay, and I know this video can elicit a lot of comments that will go like, oh, they did it to me. And I will, please, just think about it. Did they do it to you, or did you allow this? Because usually that is the case. We allow a certain treatment. So it takes a lot of responsibility, self-responsibility, because that's the only way you will feel safe that this is never going to happen again. Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, oh, I never want to end up in this relationship. Tell me the red flags for dismissive avoidance or fearful avoidance or narcissists. That is, yes, you need to learn the red flags. Okay, fine. But after that, what is keeping you safe is your own self-worth, your own self-respect, your own self-love, and your own boundaries. If you are breadcrumbing yourself, if you are not taking care of yourself, if you are looking for somebody else to outsource all of your needs, all of your good feelings, and you don't have anything in your life that brings you passion and joy and aliveness, then you are so susceptible to all of these things like love bombing, breadcrumbing, whatever else is out there. What is the main protection is your own self-love, and there are your own boundaries and speaking up your boundaries. So let me know about this topic. Have you ever breadcrumbed, or have you ever fallen prey to breadcrumbing? I know I have. I cannot wait to hear from you, and I'm sending you lots of love. Ciao.